What's going on, LinkedIn? I am bringing you a brand new segment just for LinkedIn. I may or may not decide to repurpose a lot of this content for other social medias, but you guys on LinkedIn are going to see this first. So, what are we going to be talking about in these segments? Biz dev strategies, marketing, hot topics, news, things that are going on. Essentially, I'm going to start this as kind of like a daily walk and talk, right? So I'm not going to be walking. Um, but if you're walking, if you're doing a morning jog or anything, this is your morning get up, if you will. And so what we're going to be talking about today is why most of you don't need a virtual assistant, right? Or most of you don't even have the capacity to hire someone to begin with. The reason that I'm going to be talking about this is because one of the biggest questions that I get from small business owners, especially as the founder of an outsourcing agency, is how do I know when it's time to hire a virtual assistant? How do I know what to give my virtual assistant? And the question of not knowing is your answer. If you are doing so much work in the course of a day and you don't know exactly what you should be handing off to your virtual assistant, then you are not ready for a virtual assistant. You still have the capacity to do everything yourself. You're just mismanaging your time. There's no other way around it for me to say it other than you're just mismanaging your time. Because what hiring somebody does is it exposes not only your flaws, it exposes your fundamentals and core of how your business operates. When you take on an employee, when you take on staff, when you take on a virtual assistant, you are taking on a new business liability or responsibility. This entity is going to drain resources from your business, right? Whether that's capital, aka money, whether that's time, whether that's time spent doing training, you are going to utilize or waste resources when you're trying to hire out. Well, again, whether that be for a W-2 or a part-time kind of staff or for a 1099 contractor, virtual assistant, freelancer, whatever you name it, right? It's going to subtract resources. And you have to understand which is the more important resource for you at this current time. For most businesses, the resource that is most important is going to be money. That means that the resource that you have to be able to utilize is time. So if you are spending your time doing X, Y, Z, A, B, C tasks, and you don't know which of those tasks you should be outsourcing, which of those tasks that you can hand off to somebody else, then you don't need to hand off anything. Because what that's saying is that you have enough time to be able to manage everything and you're not. Because it's someone for people that want to outsource, for people that are in the mode to outsource, that are giving that work to somebody else. They know exactly what it is, exactly the task, project, role that they are trying to have fulfilled. Let me give you a scenario. If you were a truck driver and you didn't have a set location, right? You're just driving just to drive. At some point, you're going to run out of gas. Your car can break down. You are driving with no destination or goal in mind. The same thing can be said as hiring before you even know what you're hiring for. If you are just trying to say, I need help, and you don't know where you need help at, you probably don't need help in that way. And let me explain. The help that you most likely need is going to be some kind of guidance or assistance of time management. What are you doing down to the exact minute that would require you to hire? And not only when you hire, now this is where we're going to get into some of the biz dev of things, is when you're looking to hire, that's a monetary value payment. Someone is going to expect something in return for that. Now, if you're out there looking for a virtual assistant for, $5 an hour for 10 hours, you're essentially looking for 10 hours of work for $50. Where are you going to find the quality of work that you're looking for? Because again, you have to be able to measure the quality of work that you're paying for. How are you going to find the quality of work that you're looking for with that budget. That means that you are basing your time at completing this task at that rate. So let me give you another scenario. You own this business. You own, let's just call it an automotive company. You run this automotive shop and you're looking for a virtual assistant that can handle picking up the phone, right? You don't need to really have an in-person assistant. Um, Someone that can just kind of pick up the phones. They don't need to be in the office, right? If you are looking for someone to pick up the phones for 10 hours in a day, 5 hours in a day, and you are paying that person $5 per hour. Now, I understand we can get into global talent, global markets, the pricing of those things later. Let me ask you this. What are you, as the business owner, willing to do for 5 hours that will pay you $25? This is where I'd want comment what you are willing to do. This is where I want to kind of get some engagement going. Comment what you are willing to do for 5 hours straight for $25. And that is where we can see a problem in why business owners don't need a virtual assistant and they're not ready to hire, because you have not taken into account the time that it takes to not only complete this work, but the value of the person's time on the other end. And until, again, you could understand exactly what it is that you're outsourcing for. So whether that's graphic design, video editing, administrative assistant, right? Until you know exactly what you need somebody to do, you will never value their time because you see them as just being, I need small amounts of work done for small amounts of money. But the issue is what you are deeming as a small amount of work is an entire industry and role in and of itself. So it's just because I happen to see, the biggest one that people are looking for, especially in small businesses, is sales. So if you're looking to hire a sales virtual assistant, if you're looking to hire someone in sales, period, think about the sales as a whole. Not sales for your business, sales in general. There are people at Best Buy that are salesmen. There are people at PC Richardson that are salesmen. There are people at Target that are salesmen, right? Almost every single business that you know of and that you use has at least one person in their sales department. Let's not even start with, large corporations, but even small businesses, let's just call it sub $1 million, still have to have some way to generate sales. So if there are such thing as sales coaches, freelance salespeople, and there's an entire industry built around sales, which is $1 billion industry, you're telling me that what you need is so minuscule, someone would be willing to pay $25 or someone would be willing to receive $25 for 5 hours of work. What kind of quality are you going to get for that $5? Now, yes, there are plenty of stories, a dime of dozen worth of stories where went online, got a $5 virtual assistant, and they've been successful. But again, there are also a dime a dozen stories online where people are raising multi-million dollar pre-seeds with, very little business models or strategies or profitability models in place, right? And yet, even though there's that many in the media that are successful, there are two, three, four, five times the amount not in the media that are not successful. So I guess to simplify this answer, because I don't want this to be a long segment, is if you don't know what you are trying to hire for, you are not in the state to hire. Probably because you can do it yourself, especially if you're a solopreneur. However, again, everything should come down to what is your goal? Not only what is your goal, but what is the relative market to your goal? So again, just bringing it back to sales, Sales is a $1 billion industry, and you are looking to offer somebody $25 for 5 hours of work. Again, where in any industry would you be willing to do that, right? So if you don't understand what your goal is, you're not going to understand the work that's being done, meaning that you are going to undervalue that work that's being done. And then subsequently, you're going to hire cheap work and then be upset when it does not work. And so, the best advice I can tell you at this particular stage for this segment is understand what your goal is and what you're trying to hire for.